Welcome back once again to the Imaginary Gallery. It's TJ, your host, and we're still in the gay world of narcissism. This is a third installment in this discussion, which has been inspired by one of you viewers out there who shall remain nameless. But when I read the message, it triggered kind of the type of stuff I was trying to bring into this, but I figured I would share another viewer's story and incorporate my own 2 cents into it. The viewer states, when I met my ex-gay psychopath, I talked with him and said that I cannot stand dishonesty, cheating, and sneaking around. I talked with him about being open and honest, and since I got the feeling he might be very sexual, he went off on me and told me that open relationships are trashy, and he said he can't stand open relationships. Keep in mind, I, the viewer, am a monogamous person and was compromising my values to please him. He couldn't stand the idea of anyone even making small talk with me on the street. I was forbidden to see other people, which I was fine with, as I thought he was going to be doing the same. But I was 100% committed to him for over a year, and he blanked countless men behind my back. He wanted to control me and lie to me while he was in an all-out free-for-all whore fest. This particular message resonated with me because it's kind of like what I went through too, and it obviously is something many go through, where we start with how this viewer cannot stand dishonesty, cheating, and sneaking around. Well, after I was involved in such a thing, I felt the same way, and I'm guessing the mistake I made was to say it, but then again, if you don't say it, then you might be consenting, but regardless, it's common for us who have been through a horror movie with one such person to tell a new person that may be in the running how we feel about such things. And I really get the part about being open and honest, because a lot of these people, if they're cluster B toxic monster people, they don't get it, I guess. They think they can reinvent themselves with each new person they come across. And like in the circumstance I was involved with, it sounds just like this one at the beginning, where you see a person that you know gets around a lot, and you may be interested in them as well. The perfect target for such a cluster B monster would be in the category of a nice person, a friendly person who is real, who is based in reality, who is used to being real and used to resolving problems or situations with facts, with reality. Like in this particular example, this viewer knew the person was very sexual. Well, that's common in this day and age, and sounds to me like this person was trying to be real and to say, hey, I can see that you're into a lot of different things, because we know if a person's into a lot of different things, unlike the cluster B want us to believe, they're not going to snap their finger and all of a sudden become a devout monogamous person, but yet they seem to think that they are going to convince us they are. I've had the same situation where I met one of those, and I'm like, I know how things go, so when you try to like open the door to honesty, which would be the first step towards a genuine type of relationship, it's cut off immediately, despite the fact that perhaps the person that you're now speaking with, you've already witnessed go through, let's say, 3 different partners and discarded them. Well, it's kind of clear to you, but see, they want to control the situation. They want to control your perception of them with their impression management, not realizing that you too have a brain and you can see what you've already seen and can incorporate that into anything the two of you might try to start by saying, well, I see you like to get around a lot. Well, and like in this case, the viewer is compromising their own values, which I've seen that before, where you find somebody who you know probably isn't right, but there's just something magical about them, so you don't want to be the party pooper, so you try to like say, okay, I understand how you are, so I'm willing to work with that, and then they in turn have decided evidently that you are their target and that you have something they want, so they will completely abandon any piece of their previous existence and just say to you, how could you even suggest an open relationship? That is trash. That is filth, and it's all fake, of course, because their whole life is an open relationship. And as I stated before, in the first one of these, if you're dating a cluster B, you're already in an open relationship, whether you know it or not. But that's the way these creatures work. They target the people who may have traditional type values, but then have tried to adapt to a changing world where not everybody's like that, and they already have the intuition and the observation to know that this creature is not like a typical monogamous type person, but yet they're claiming that they are. And that's very shocking to try to comprehend, because it creates the cognitive dissonance, because you already know what you know, and yet here's this person just trying to wash all that away and just say, oh no, I'm interested in you. And the next part really sounded familiar as well, with he couldn't stand the idea of anyone even making small talk with me on the street. I was forbidden to see other people. Well, that, my dear, sounds like a very unhealthy, controlling situation, even if you did feel fine with it because you thought that the other person was going to be doing the same, which with these types is rarely, if ever, the case. And that's where you start to get your weirdo feelings of something's not right, because you already know what you knew beforehand, and yet you're hearing these words come out that are saying, oh no, that's not me anymore, I'm now this way. They keep that straight face and they don't act embarrassed because, remember, they have no remorse, no guilt, which means they could be pursuing another person the very next day for the very same thing they're asking you for, and would just say, oh, that's someone I barely know, if you see them talking. But this brings in the sad fact with these people that they're like a little boy or a little girl, a child. They never grew out of their selfish me stage, but they've learned to cover it by pretending to be so in love with you. But they think they have this entitlement, which explains the no one can even talk to you, small talk on the street, you are not to see anyone, and all that. That's, again, controlling. But the sad part is this same person is freely, secretly pursuing whatever it wants to pursue. But that's the deal. The rules are different for you than for him or her. Well, in this case, for him. That does not work. It's like a formula for disaster. But yet these fools think that they're going to get away with it, and they won't. There's no equality. They're possessive, they're jealous, and they're very projecting as well, which I've experienced on a few occasions, where you're just behaving like you would normally, and yet they'll say something like, "Oh, I know what you're doing now. You're dating that person over there," and you're not, and you're thinking, this person must be dating some other person, is what it tells me. If you say that, of course, you'll be told, "Oh, no, I'm not." So it's a dead end. But when you think about these people, they have the no remorse, the no guilt, the no shame, which means they could have 10 different people that they're leading on for a real relationship forever. And if you happen to see them talking to one of them and say, "Hey, is that somebody you're pursuing?" you'll be told casually with that same normal face, "Oh, no, she wishes. I told her I'm in love with you," which is a common line some of them will use, which if you happen to speak to the other person, you'll hear an entirely different story. Back to the subject of the open relationship and the viewer's post. This person was committed to this one for over a year while he made lust to countless people behind the person's back. The viewer states it correctly. Wanted to control and lie while it was a whore. And see, that's the thing they do. That's like the daredevil, forbidden fruit behavior they love to pursue, which they would, of course, never say, "Hi, nice to meet you. My goal is to trick you into thinking I'm in love with you for the rest of our lives while I sneak around behind your back and have sex with everyone I can find." No, you will never hear that. You will hear, "Oh, I believe that if someone's dating, they should be just the two of them." And that's what's sickening about these people, because it's not what you're getting. What you see is not what you get. A piece I thought I'd tie into all this is I had been involved with the person for many years, over 10, and after the midway point I noticed certain things slowing down and figured, well, this is what I've chosen, this is where I am, so let's make the best of it. And I would try to do the same type of thing like the viewer and try to appeal to what I thought this person wanted to say. Look, I mean, I wasn't saying it, but it's kind of like, well, I'd rather not end everything because we've reached this point. I'd rather explore and see where things could go, thinking that maybe another person might help put some spark somewhere. But at the same time, it was also awkward and not traditional. But when I would say such things, I'd be told, "Oh, that's disgusting. How could you even say that?" And then, of course, learned that that was off limits. That was outside my compartment boundaries. I wasn't dare to even talk about that, even though the partner was actively enjoying such things. But one thing I learned after the long-term fiasco was over was several people came up to me and told me the sickness that occurred. I guess it's common because it's happened with others as well. Let's say you have been with your partner for 10 years and you mention opening it all up just to think maybe that would appeal to the other person, and they shoot you down and say how sick that is. Then you find out that those nights that you had to work late and your partner was off with friends or whatever, you learn that this partner was out picking up dates for sex. While you're having a dry spell at home, it's doing all this, and the punchline is you find out, like, well, I'll just tell you what I had. I talked to a person who knew me, who knew the partner, who was more on the partner side, but their friend knew that like every time we saw him, we were together. Well, then one particular night, I was busy working, and here was the partner pursuing some other kid. He'd said, "Hey, aren't you with TJ? What are you doing chasing this person?" This monster had the nerve to say, "Oh, TJ and I, we have an open relationship." Which, of course, I had no idea of. But that's the way these people operate, which makes it taboo and means that if I happen to run into that person in the future, he's not going to say, "Oh, I hear you have an open relationship. I saw your partner with somebody else." No, they will say nothing. And that's like another form of their control, where they know people probably won't say anything. But that was just sick to hear and to learn. especially knowing that I brought that very subject up, which clearly the partner has already begun doing without my knowledge, like a business partner who makes decisions without consulting the other, just deciding to do it at once, and I have a problem with that because there's no equality. My dream counter-manipulation would be to start my own little private affair and just mirror back all the retarded excuses and things the other one said, just to give them a taste of their own medicine.
Oh, the new person I'm spending every night with? Oh, well, that's just a friend. You're paranoid. You need to go to therapy. You have a problem.
That's the kind of crap they dish out, but as you learn, they cannot take it. So, in the gay world of narcissism, I've noticed it's very common for these creatures to buy into the idea of some monogamous relationship just for the sake of furthering their own agenda. And they're hoping to find somebody with strict values so they can control them. Because if you knew what they really were, and this is the sick punchline about it all, is one of the things that contributes to their supply source, they targeted you because you were nice and friendly and looked for the good in people, and they know that they're rotten to the core, so they're given that feeling of intensified supply, knowing that you are a person who, if there were no abilities to lie and people were forced to tell what they really were like, you would have nothing to do with this creature. Yet, because that doesn't exist, they thrive and they get thrills out of seducing someone with their love-bombing crap into believing that they're so special to this creature, yet in the back of the creature's mind it knows every single moment of the day that if this target knew what I was really about and what I'd done and what I planned to do, this target would be running the other direction. But guess what? It's not. And they feel so powerful to think that they've got this person under their spell, and I'm guessing that provides a childlike thrill of supply, even though it's never going to last. It's always going to be found out, but these people love to repeat, and repeat.
Well, the truth is, my boyfriend and I broke up right before I seduced you. The whole time you and I were together, and all those times I was not available for comment, I was desperately trying to get things back together with him. Well, I'm very clever. I'm very ingenious, and I finally got him hooked back in. So I know that during that 6-month absence when I showed up, you thought that you could rekindle our romance, but the next day I got that call from him because my other scam worked. I just disappeared. I didn't think you needed to know because I might need you in the future. And if you knew what I did this time, I might not have that option. I'm smart. I think about the future.
Oh, I miss you so much. I know that I was kind of rude last time. I know that I dumped you again and it really hurt you and I didn't answer any of your calls, but you've got to forgive me. This time it's real. Oh, all I could do is think of you and that little yellow blanket you used to love to snuggle up with. Please give me a chance. I know I said that last time and then left you again. This time it's different. I promise. I know I promised before too, but this promise counts. You believed all that crap. Maybe now you'll be more careful before you date someone because you were gullible and you fell for every single line I said.
Look, honey, I can't help it if you're gullible. That's your problem, not mine.